Start to record. Okay. Hi, Cadence. Hi, everyone. Okay. Just in case you haven't gotten the notes, in case you just registered, okay, I'm just gonna throw the link in the chat box, okay, and you can click into the link, okay, and there's actually all the subjects inside lah. You just choose you just click into Form 3 folder and then you can see all the subjects, okay. If you don't have it, yes, okay, good, very good. All right. Job okay. So hi to myself. All right. So anyways, just let you guys know what is my game plan for today's seminar. Okay, if you guys have been with me for a while, okay, you should know how I usually do my revision lah. Okay, this is my style. Okay, I am not the type where I just spam a lot of questions because I feel like if you just do question without recap, sometimes you might or might not have forgotten some, something that if you have learned a couple of months ago, like chapter one. It has been some time lah since we last learned it. Okay, so what I usually do is that I usually do like that. Okay, I will do chapter one recap first. Okay, again, this is recap. It's not reteaching the whole thing because you need to know chapter one and chapter two, I use about 2 months, 3 months to finish it. So I cannot be teaching in detail for like in 1.5 hour. Okay, so what I'll do, I will mention all the key points that I feel like it's more important. Okay, and all the other stuff, okay, like those that requires memorizing. Okay, I will leave it to you guys, okay, because I cannot help you guys memorize also. All right, can so what I'll do is I'll do why lag one It was okay this morning. Wait, let me just check. Okay. Better a bit. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, okay, I'm going to start, okay, with chapter one recap, and then I will do chapter one exercise. Okay, I've chosen out some questions already, and I'll do chapter two recap and then chapter two exercise. Okay. But then again, I don't think we'll have enough time to do a lot of questions because due to time constraint. Okay, maybe later I OT a little bit. Okay, just stretch a little bit more if we need to. All right, maybe an extra 10 minutes. We'll see how lah. Okay, how fast we go. Okay. So anyways, let me just drag my BM notes out and we shall start our seminar. Okay. So let me just drag my notes out. All right. Wait, I'm scrolling. Okay. So chapter one. Okay, chapter one is about our stimuli and responses. All right. So over here, the very first part of the chapter, okay, of course, it talks about the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. This one you guys can read through lah, ha. Okay, what I want to talk about is your voluntary and involuntary actions. Okay, what do we mean by voluntary and involuntary? Okay, so when we talk about voluntary actions, basically it is actions that is controlled by the brain, okay, that you are aware of. Okay, like for example, now when you talk, okay, when you write, okay, when you read, when you eat, okay, you play your phone, you scroll your IG, play TikTok, okay, all these are considered as voluntary actions because basically it's your conscious action, okay? And as for involuntary actions, it's basically actions that are not controlled, okay, with our conscious mind. For example, we have two examples, by the way. We have involuntary actions controlled by the medulla oblongata, okay, which is this part of the brain, okay, and then we also have involuntary actions controlled by the spinal cord. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, for involuntary actions controlled by medulla oblongata are usually things like what? Heartbeat, breathing, peristalsis, okay, production of saliva. Okay, for example, you cannot, okay, like for example, heartbeat cannot be a voluntary action. Otherwise, you're very busy, Every second you have to think, oh, my heart needs to beat, my heart needs to beat. Okay, the moment you stop thinking, GG, bye-bye. Okay, so what we have is that we need our medulla oblongata to help us control all this, okay? And we also have another type of involuntary actions, which is what? Okay, tindakan luar kawal, controlled by our spinal cord, saraf tunjang, usually involve reflex action. Let's say if you touch something hot and then you withdraw your hand away, that's actually considered as a reflex action. Okay, or let's say when you sneeze, okay, when you step on a sharp object, all this is controlled by the spinal cord, reflex action. Okay, usually you don't need to slowly think. Okay, you touch something hot and then you think, wow, this one quite hot. What should I do next? Your hand already cooked, become medium rare already. Okay, so usually you want it quick. Okay, so it's controlled by our spinal cord. And one thing you need to remember the pathway. Okay, for voluntary actions, it will go from the effector, basically your receptor, to the brain, to the effector, your muscles. Okay, so for voluntary actions controlled by the brain. Okay, but for involuntary actions is from the effector, aka receptor, to the spinal cord and then the effector. It doesn't go all the way to the brain. Your spinal cord would immediately send back the nerve impulse. Okay, so over here, let's have a look at the next part. So basically, right, in your chapter 1, it mainly focuses on a lot of your what's it called, your sensory organs, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, basically your tongue, okay, your hearing, and also your skin. Okay, so over here, let's have a look at the eyes. Okay, so again, for the parts where you have to memorize, okay, like I said, I will leave it to you guys because I cannot help you memorize all the parts in the eyes. Okay, and all this, if you want to ask me, teacher, I have to memorize, okay, I think I close my eyes and should. Yeah, this one, right? Of course, if you ask me, do they test? Of course they do. I mean, I cannot guarantee that they come out eye, but but then again, they don't test every single part. They don't give you a botak eye, okay, and ask you to label all 13 parts. No. Okay, they maybe just leave this empty, and this empty, and ask you to label these 3 parts. And then again, if you got memorized, then got marks lah. Okay, otherwise, good luck. Okay, so over here, all the parts, okay, all this, okay, you guys sendiri try your best to memorize. Okay, I know there's a lot of things to memorize in chapter 1. Okay, but try your best lah. Okay, and over here, as to the functions, also make sure you try your best to memorize. Okay, but what I want to go through is the mechanism of eyesight. Okay, so usually when we are able to see things, why can we see things? It's because light enters our eye. Okay, and where does light pass by? Okay, where does it go? Okay, light enters the eye through the cornea. Okay, through the cornea, and then it will go through the aqueous humor. Okay, and it passes by the pupil, enter the eye lens. Okay, eye lens is canter mater. And after that, it will pass through your vitreous humor, and eventually your light will land on retina. Okay, so basically retina consists of a lot of photoreceptors, basically receptors that detects light. And what does retina do? Retina will convert all this light into nerve impulses. Okay, retina will convert light, okay, cahaya kepada what? Kepada impulse saraf, and send to where? It will rely on our optic nerve and send the message to the brain. Therefore, we will know what we are seeing. Or got like a dog in front, got cat in front, or whatsoever lah. Okay, like taking a photo with a phone. Yeah, similar. All right. So over here, always remember retina is the one that detects the light and convert it into nerve impulse. Okay, and things to take note, yellow spot and your blind spot. Okay, don't get confused over these 2 parts. Okay, so always remember the most sensitive spot in our eye is the yellow spot because it has the most number of receptors there. Okay, the most sensitive yellow spot. Okay, and what about blind spot? Blind spot is the spot where it's not sensitive to light at all because there is no receptors, no photoreceptors here. Okay, your titik buta, here it is the least, not sensitive to light at all. All right, so moving on to the next one. Okay, so for the functions part, okay, you guys sendiri go through, okay, because cannot help you memorize anyhow. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's look at ear. Okay, so for your ear, right, it's mainly split into 3 different sections. Okay, our outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. Okay, and over here, again, functions, I'll leave it to you guys. Okay, but what I want to go through, okay, when we are able to hear things, okay, where does your sound passes through? Like, where does it pass by? Okay, so first of all, you need to know basically how is sound being produced. Form 2 chapter 10, I think chapter 10. Yeah. Okay. You need to remember, guys, sound is actually a type of vibration. Okay. Now, as I speak, okay, basically my vocal cords are vibrating. Okay. So the idea is that when I speak, okay, I produce sound wave through the vibration. So how can you know that? Okay, if let's say now you hear a sound, okay, where does your sound passes through? Okay, so first of all, the sound will be collected by your cuping telinga, your earlobe, okay, and it will pass to where? It will pass to the ear canal. Okay, and what happens next? Did they cut open a dead human? I'm not sure. Probably yes. Yeah, they have plastinated human. Okay, anyways, after the sound passes through the ear canal, here comes the eardrum. Okay, so basically, eardrum is like a very elastic sheet in your ear. Okay, so basically, what happens is that it will start to vibrate. As it collects the sound, it will follow the sound vibration and vibrate accordingly. So as the eardrum vibrates, it will pass the vibration on to the ossicle, okay, which is made of 3 tiny bones over here. Okay, and what does ossicle do? Okay, ossicle is like an amplifier. Okay, ossicles, okay, they will amplify the sound vibration. Okay, so remember, eardrum vibrates, pass to ossicle, ossicle amplify the vibration. Okay, and what happens next? After ossicles amplify the sound vibration, it will go through where? Okay, it will pass through oval window. What's the function of oval window? Oval window is just like a window. It's like literally like a window. It just pass through, okay? Just pass through, and then it enters the cochlea. Okay, the one that looks like the shell of the snail, okay? So basically, this is your cochlea. And what does cochlea do? Cochlea will detect all the sound vibration. Amplify means make it louder, correct? Okay, so cochlea will actually detect the sound vibration and convert it into nerve impulse. Again, once it's converted into nerve impulse, it will rely on our auditory nerve, okay, and send it to our brain. Okay, so our brain will tell us what we are actually hearing. Okay, so over here, two things to take note. Okay, in the exam, they love to ask. Okay, what are the two parts? Which are the two parts that are not involved in hearing at all? Okay, two parts involve the semicircular canals and also eustachian tube. These two are really have to know because they love to test. When I say they love to test, they really love to test. Okay, and over here, what's the function of your semicircular canal, salo-separobula, and also your tube eustachian? Okay, one to balance your body, one to balance pressure. Okay, so your eustachian tube basically it's here. Okay, mainly it helps to balance the air pressure on both sides of the eardrum. Okay, untuk mengimbangi tekanan udara. Okay, whereas for semicircular canal, okay, it helps to detect where your head position is and help you to balance the body, okay, so that you don't fall as easily. All right, so this is basically your both parts, okay, eustachian tube and semicircular canal. Both are not involved in hearing. These two parts only. The rest are involved in hearing. Okay, and moving on to the next one, whatever I mentioned just now, it's over here, the mechanism of hearing. Okay, next we will move on to nose. Okay, so for nose and the tongue, I would say is the two easiest parts, okay, of among all your sensory organs. Okay, so basically nose, of course, is for us to smell things, okay, sense of smell, okay, our sense of smell. So basically what you need to know is that in our nasal cavity, the top part, okay, of your nasal cavity, there's a lot of smell receptors inside, okay, smell receptors inside. Okay, so what the smell receptors do? Of course, it will detect smell, okay, and convert it into nerve impulse. Okay, but why can we actually smell things? Okay, by the way, everything that we smell, like let's say now, you smell curry chicken, you smell something like perfume, you smell like someone farted, okay, whatever smell, okay, actually all these smells, okay, that you're getting are all chemical substances in the air. Okay, and what you need to know is that usually in our nose we have something called as the mucus. Okay, so what happened is that when we have smell in the air, okay, there's actually chemical substances, okay, in the air. So what happened is that all these chemical substance will actually dissolve in your mucus, okay, and then what happened? The dissolved substances will actually stimulate your smell receptor, and what happens? Your smell receptor will send this message, basically convert into nerve impulse, and then send it to your brain. And then your brain would know what you're smelling now. Yes, smell of ramen, smell of fried chicken, okay? Hungry already. Okay, so over here, whatever you can smell is actually all chemical substance dissolved in the mucus, and then it rely on your sense, your smell receptor to send the message to your brain. Okay, and things or questions related to your basically your nose. Okay, they're gonna ask you things like this. Okay, let's say they ask, okay, how come when a person, can give you an example. Let's say a person, a worker, she works in a perfume shop. Okay, like Sephora or whatsoever lah. Okay, let's say the first day of work, she feel like, wow, the perfume, oh, it smells very nice, or it smells very good. Okay, but eventually, okay, like maybe 2 or 3 months down the line, okay, she realized that how come the perfume macam no smell already one? Okay, then they ask you, okay, why does the girl experience such thing? Okay, it's because you need to know, okay, when she work there, means she's there every day. Okay, she is smelling the same thing every single day. So yes, starting off maybe the first 1 month, actually less than 1 month, okay, maybe in the first month, right? Okay, she every day she smell it. Okay, she still feel like it smells good because why? Because the smell receptor is still constantly sending message to the brain, telling you, oh, this is perfume, this is perfume. Wow, this perfume smell nice. Okay, but 1 month or 2 months down the line, okay, your smell receptor be like, chill, it's the same smell again. No need send message lah. Okay, so basically the smell just stops here. And then your smell receptor just chilling there, doing nothing, sending no message. That's why your brain don't detect the smell. Okay, so these are the things that they might test in exam. Of course, not necessarily perfume. They'll ask you different kind of things lah. Okay, and apart from that, they'll ask you why when you have a flu. Okay, basically when you catch a cold, why? Okay, do you not smell anything? It's because when you have flu, when you catch a cold, what happens to the mucus? Yes, got mucus, but super duper thick. Okay, it's thick to the point where yes, the chemical substance will dissolve in the mucus, but it's so thick that it cannot stimulate your smell receptor. So when your smell receptor is not stimulated, then it's just chilling there doing nothing also. Okay, that's why you cannot smell anything. Okay, so that's the idea about it. Next one, let's have a look at your tongue, okay? Your sense of taste, okay, lidah, okay? So basically, if you have looked into your tongue closely, okay, you see that one like biji thing on your tongue. Those are actually called as the papillae. Okay, so on your tongue you have a lot of papillae, and in the papillae there's a lot of taste buds. Okay, so of course in your taste buds there's a lubang there, and then there will be taste receptor. Similar concept to nose. In your nose, you have mucus. In your mouth, you have your saliva. So basically, your sweet taste, your bitter, your sour, your umami, all these are basically different taste. Okay, and the idea is that it will dissolve in the saliva, and what happens? The saliva will stimulate your taste receptor, and then taste receptor will send nerve impulse to the brain to tell you now. Okay, so that the white stuff on the tongue, uh not necessarily white stuff, but the one biji, you see like the tongue, you have that tiny bumps on it. That one is your papillae. Yeah, okay. So over here, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so this part here, you need to know which part of your tongue detects what type of stimuli. Okay, so generally at the back of your tongue, okay, you will taste bitter. Okay, and then sour is on the both sides, okay, at the back part, okay, and then you have sweet, which is at the tip of your tongue. Just remember, usually when you eat ice cream, you lick the ice cream with the tip of your tongue, okay, because it can sense more sweet stimuli over here. Okay, and as for salty, there's two ways of asking. Okay, it's actually at the edge of your tongue like this. Okay, but sometimes in exam, right, they might give you a tongue like this. Which part detects salty? These two. Okay, and the middle part here is umami. Okay, this one also involves a little bit of memorizing. All right, all right. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Okay. So hang on. Tada. Next one. We have our skin. Umami do what? Detect umami lo. Umami taste lo. Like like chicken stock. Okay, this kind of taste. Not raw. like stock, chicken stock, as in like, you know, chicken soup. Sometimes you taste that very savory, not savory, savory umami, that kind of feeling. Okay, can. Okay, durian. I don't like durian. Cadence, do you understand Mandarin? Yes, Ajinomoto. Yes, Ajinomoto. That umami taste. You know when you eat seaweed, it's not the salty, it's that umami. Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next one. Yes, that umami taste. All right. So where's the next one? Ah, here. Okay, your skin. Okay, skin, I would say it's not hard, okay, but the harder part is that all the receptors look somewhat the same, isn't it? Okay, so over here, in our skin, we have total of 5 main receptors, okay, where it will detect cold, heat, pain, touch, and pressure. Okay, let's talk about pain first. Okay, so guys, pain receptor is the one that's the easiest to identify. Why? It's because it's the one that looks a bit different one. Okay, it looks like a terbalik punya tree branch. Okay, so usually pain receptor is located closest to the skin. Why closest to the skin? Because your skin wants you to detect pain first. Why? So that you can protect yourself. If you sense a little bit of pain, your reflex action will help you reduce that pain or even withdraw your hand away, things like that. Okay, so you see the one here looking like a terbalik branch one. Okay, this is called as our pain receptor circuit. Okay, and then next, let's talk about the pressure receptor since it is also easy to identify. Okay, usually pressure receptor, it lies deep down in your skin, okay, and it's deep down in your dermis layer. All right, and pressure receptor, of course, to detect pressure. But the question is how to differentiate pressure and touch. Touch receptor is stimulated when you just touch lightly, like that, okay? But when you talk about pressure, you really press in to stimulate your pressure receptor, all right? And here comes your 3 very confusing receptors, okay? Your cold, heat, and touch. Okay, so let's talk about touch receptor first. So usually touch receptor, of course, is to detect touch stimuli. Okay, but one thing, how does it look like? How to recognize how it is? Okay, usually touch receptor is the most oval and longest one. Okay, it's like oval shape and very long one. Okay, that is one thing you can see. Second one is that usually your your touch receptor is the closest to the epidermis layer. You see, this one is your epidermis. It's closest to your epidermis, like here. Okay, I know this is not very obvious here. My teacher used me as example. Wow, she pinched you so hard. Means your epidermis not as thick. Oh. Okay, so yeah, basically the one closest to the epidermis, this is your touch receptor. Okay, let me just quickly show you an example so that you can visualize it. Oh, sorry, wrong one. This one, here. Wait Chotomate. Did I miss it? Wait, where did I want to? Sorry, let me find a question. I just saw it just now. Where? Here. Here. See, very obvious one. See, the one that is closest to the epidermis. Almost want to kiss the epidermis already. The one closest. Okay, this is your touch receptor. Receptor sento. Okay, literally just okay. And you see, for cold receptor and heat receptor. Okay, back to your notes. Okay, usually for cold receptor is a bit more bulat one, rounder. Okay, and heat receptor is a bit more oval. Okay, so round, oval, long oval. Okay, things like that. You can try to remember. Okay, so cold receptor, rounder, heat receptor, oval shape. Okay, receptor, sejuk, and harbor. Okay, so over here, what are the things that you need to take note? Okay, what are the things that affects the sensitivity of skin? Okay, 2 factors. Number 1 is the number of receptors. Of course, when you have more receptors in that area, of course, your skin will be more sensitive. Okay, and number 2 is your thickness of the skin epidermis. Okay, if your skin is very thick, of course, you feel less pain. For example, your elbow. Okay, usually your elbow has less thicker epidermis. So when you pinch your elbow, okay, you don't really feel that pain. Okay, if you take fire and burn your elbow, of course you still feel pain. Okay, that one different story. Okay, but when talking about pinching, right, okay, you don't really feel that much on your elbow compared to where you try to pinch here, you want to cry. Okay, legit one. Okay, you try to pinch your arm here, it's like very, very painful. Why? Okay, a lot of receptors there. Okay, so yeah, two factors. Okay, and apart from that, let's have a look at the next part. Okay, limitation of hearing. This one you guys can go through a bit here and there. Okay, the few devices to overcome your limitation of hearing, like what? Stethoscope, the one that doctors use. Okay, and then loudspeaker. Loudspeaker is basically like what is it called? Megaphone. Okay, and apart from that, hearing aids. Okay, can help to amplify the sound entering the ear. Okay, and the rest, you guys can just read through a bit lah. Limitation of sight can read through a bit lah. Optical illusion have to know. Okay, this is optical illusion. Okay, and blind spot you have to know. Okay, whatever image that falls on blind spot cannot be seen because there is no photoreceptor there. Okay, and moving on to the next one, your defect of your vision defect. Okay, so we have three types of vision defect over here: short-sightedness, long-sightedness, and also our astigmatism. Okay, so short-sightedness. Okay, I believe almost everyone here, if you are wearing specs now, most likely you have short-sightedness. Okay, including me lah. Okay, so I am short-sighted actually. So basically what the short-sightedness means, okay, basically means that I'm able to see near, like very near things clearly, but distant object I cannot see clearly. Okay, it's not like I'm blind, but I just cannot see clearly. Okay, and long-sighted means I can see further things clearer and nearer things will be blurry. Okay, and over here, what else? You also have your astigmatism caused by uneven curvature of cornea. You see, your cornea is like some part is what is it called? Is thinner, some part is thicker. This will cause astig. Okay, I have astigmatism. Yeah, I also have a bit of astigmatism. All right, so over here, let's have a look. So apart from knowing what type of vision defect, you need to know what causes it. Okay, short-sightedness is because eye lens too thick or even eyeball too long. And how can you correct it? Okay, usually short-sightedness can be corrected using concave lens. Concave. Okay, just remember, concave looks like this. It will cave inwards. Cave. Okay. So over here, now for those that wear specs, okay, in exam you can legally cheat. You can just take your specs out and see, oh, I'm short-sighted. Concave like that. Okay. If let's say you don't remember, I can somewhat. It's not cheating technically. It's like utilizing your resources. Okay. And the next one, let's have a look at long-sightedness. Okay, for long-sightedness, rabun, the gut means can see further things, okay, clearly, but near objects will appear to be blurry. Okay, due to what? Eye lens too thin or eyeball too short. Okay, and how can you correct it? Okay, you can use convex lens, okay, to help converge your light ray. Okay, RIP to the people who don't have glasses. You tell a friend, pinjam your glasses, job. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, astigmatism. Okay, how can you correct this type of vision defect? Okay, you can use cylindrical lens. Okay, your Cantor cylinder. Okay, and moving on to the next one. Okay, we will look into the plants part. Okay, so for the plants part, okay, you need to know basically plants will also respond to stimulus, okay, which we have a total of 5. 4 is tropism, 1 is nestic movement. Okay, not nesty movement, it's nestic movement. Okay, so let's talk about nestic movement first, okay, because it's easier. Okay, so for nestic movement, okay, it's basically a response towards touch. Okay, the easiest example, okay, is your mimosa. You know, mimosa, every time when you see, I'm not sure about you lah, but for me, every time I see mimosa, I confirm want to touch one. Okay, so when I touch, what happens when you touch mimosa? It will close, it will fold its leaves. Okay, so this basically, when it folds its leaf, this is like a defense mechanism, okay, to protect itself. So this is actually a nestic movement. Some of my friends asked to wear my glasses and And then what else? Yeah, eye power different. So basically when everyone's power is different, the thickness also different one. Okay. So over here, let's move on to the next one. Okay. So nestic movement usually involve your mimosa or even Venus flytrap. Okay, so it will move, it will close up, okay, but it's usually temporary movement. All right, for tropism, it's actually a type of directional response, directional growth. Okay, tindak balas arah tumbuhan. Okay, terhadap what? Terhadap rangsangan. What type of stimuli? Usually, it will respond to light, water, gravity, and also your touch. Okay, let's go through each and every one of it. Okay, let's look at the first one. Okay, what is phototropism? Okay, when plants have phototropism, basically is when it grow towards the direction of light. Okay, so over here, why does it grow towards the direction of sunlight? Because it needs to get enough of sunlight to carry out photosynthesis. Okay, untuk mendapat matahari yang mencukupi untuk menjalankan photosynthesis. Okay, so over here, one thing, okay, that I want to highlight to you, okay, common mistake that students do. Okay, you need to know if the question says state the type of tropism carried out by this plant. Okay, then they show something like this. Okay, basically, what happened is that the plant will grow towards the direction of light, right? Okay, so if they were to ask you, let's say, they draw something like this and then they draw the plant like that. Okay, then they ask you what type of tropism, what type is it? Then you answer phototropism. Okay, however, there are certain cases where they ask, state, okay, what happens to the shoots of the plant? If they ever mention the particular part, okay, that specific part, whether the shoots, the roots, or whatsoever, you need to mention positive or negative phototropism. If they ask you, what happens to the shoots of the plant in this diagram? You say it shows positive phototropism. Positive means it will actually show a positive response towards light. It grows towards light. Okay, only use the word positive or negative when they specify a specific part, whether the shoots or the roots. Okay, of course, for roots wise, it will show negative phototropism. What do we mean by negative phototropism? Okay, if let's say you put your plant like that, do you see your roots terbalik and come out of the soil and grow towards light? No. Okay, your roots just go down. Okay, so it doesn't grow towards light. Okay, roots just stay underneath the soil. So in that case, it doesn't respond to light. So your roots in this case shows negative phototropism. Okay, so if they specify that particular part, you need to mention positive or negative. Number two, okay, your geotropism. What is geotropism? Okay, geotropism is basically when the plant grow towards the direction of gravity. Okay, which part of the plant particularly? Usually usually the roots. Okay, so if let's say now, right, I'm not sure if this one. If let's say now you have something like this, okay, let's say the plant fell down already, okay, it went down. Okay, then what happened is that you will notice that the roots, right, eventually it will grow downwards. Okay, why does it grow downwards to the direction of gravity? Okay, it's because it wants to stabilize the plant. It will grow deeper into the soil and stabilize the plant. So generally, this plant, okay, it shows geotropism, okay, but if they ask for the particular part, what type of tropism does the roots show? Positive geotropism, okay? And when the shoots grow upwards, okay, your shoots will never go downwards like that one. Tada, okay? This one cacat already. Okay, so it grows upwards because it doesn't react, it doesn't respond to gravity. Okay, so this is negative geotropism. Okay, the shoots show negative geotropism. Okay, and for the third one, hydro. The word hydro means water. Okay, so guys, usually, okay, which part of the plant absorbs water? Of course, the roots. So generally, hydrotropism is basically when the plants grow towards the direction of water. Which particular part? Of course, the roots. So the roots show positive hydrotropism. Okay? So one thing, to highlight to you. If you ever have this type of question, okay, you see at the bottom is anhydrous calcium chloride. By the way, this is a drying agent. Means at the bottom, this one super duper dry, okay? And now you have moist cotton wool on top. In cases like this, okay, I know just now I mentioned, usually the roots should grow downwards to the direction of gravity. But now when the plants is forced to choose between water and gravity, of course, it will still anyhow choose water. So your roots will still U-turn and grow towards the direction of water. Calcium chloride kontang. Yes. Calcium chloride kontang is this one. Then drying agent. Correct. Okay. So over here, let's have a look at the next one. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, hydrotropism, basically the roots will grow towards the direction of water. Okay. Same thing for photosynthesis. And finally, thigmotropism is basically, like those morning glory, okay, those type of plant. Okay. Basically, it will respond towards touch. It will cling onto like those paga, okay, like those objects or whatever other plants that they come into contact with. Okay. Why do they cling onto other things? Is to obtain support. Okay, so cucumber, morning glory, your watermelon also. Okay, and which particular part? This one have to be careful. It's not the shoots and the roots already. Okay, it's your tendrils. Tendrils is the curly stuff, okay, that hangs onto other plants. Some of them harm the other plant. Yeah, true. Okay, but this is actually your thigmotropism. Okay, can. Okay, so BM, which part shows positive thigmotropism positive? Okay, it's actually your pseudopoud. Is T pseudopoud. Okay, can. Okay lah. Give me a short lah. Okay, can. So moving on to the next one. Okay, so the experiment you guys can have a look a bit lah. Okay, so basically this one shows positive sorry, your phototropism. Okay, and over here this shows geotropism as the root grow downwards. Okay, and then this is hydrotropism. Okay, they don't have example for thigmotropism. Okay, anyways. Last page before we look into some questions. Okay, we are a little bit behind time actually. Okay, I've tried my very best already, okay. But chapter 1 and 2 is really very long. Okay, so stereoscopic and monocular vision. Okay, let's just talk about the main points over here. Okay, so stereoscopic visions are basically visions for predators usually. Okay, predators, and monocular visions are vision for prey. Okay, how to differentiate both of them? Always remember, stereoscopic visions, okay, basically this type of animals with this type of vision, they will have both eyes at the front of the head. Okay, for example, human, we have stereoscopic vision. Okay, and for monocular vision, okay, your penglihatan monocular, okay, what happens is that the eyes will be at both sides of the head. Okay, so such as what? Your fish, okay, all kind of small birds, okay, rats, horse, rabbits, okay, these kind of animals, okay, usually is vision for prey. All right, so over here, let's talk about the things that they always ask. Okay, so usually, right, what is the advantage and disadvantage? Squirrel is correct, monocular also. All right, so for stereoscopic vision, okay, because both eyes are at the front of the head, okay, so when both eyes are at the front of the head, of course, you're able to see a bigger overlap area. Means what? The right side of the eye, you can see this much, okay, left side of the eye, you can see this much, okay, which makes the overlap area very big. Okay, so when the overlap area is big, okay, what happens? When the overlap area is big, okay, means they're able to see things in 3D, 3D. Okay, and what's the advantage of seeing things in 3D? Is that they are able to judge distance accurately. Okay, if you ask them to cross longgang, they can tell you how much you need to jump in order to cross the longgang. Okay, but of course, when it comes to predator, okay, if they ever see their prey, their lunch in front, okay, so what happens is that they will know exactly how much to jump in order to catch the fella. Okay, that is their advantage. However, what is the disadvantage of such vision? Okay, because both eyes are at the front of the head. Okay, whoever behind, okay, talking behind your back, talking about you behind your back, cannot see. Okay, so whoever the enemy from behind, you can't actually see them. Okay, because you have narrow field of vision. Okay, whereas for monocular vision, penglihatan monocular, okay, basically eyes are at both sides of the head, okay, which makes them having a large field of vision. Okay, you can see this right eye can see this much, okay, and left eye can see this much. Okay, so it's much more than 180 degrees. All right, so of course the advantage would be what? Because they have eyes on the both sides of the head, okay, they are able to see wide field of vision. Okay, penglihatan yang luas. Okay, bidang penglihatan yang luas. Okay, but however, can you see that the overlap area is so tiny? Sometimes don't even overlap. So if the overlapping area is small, they are not able to see things in 3D. Means just 2D. So if it's 2D, okay, they cannot judge distance accurately. You ask them to cross longgang, confirm masuk longgang. Okay, so unable to judge distance accurately. Okay, and over here, stereophonic hearing. What is stereophonic hearing? Stereophonic hearing is basically when you hear with both ears at the same time. Okay, and what is the advantage of hearing with both ears? In case you're like thinking, you can hear with one ear, one man. You cover one side, then you hear with one ear, no? Then you are not able to judge the direction of sound. Okay, anyways, advantage is that you're able to determine the direction of sound accurately. Okay, for example, sometimes when how other people is like they call your name like, hey, then what happened is that you will know exactly which direction to turn to. It's like, hey, Jasmine, then you'll be like, or if let's say if it's from the right side, hey, Jasmine, then you will turn to the right. You will know exactly where the sound is coming from. Why? Because we hear with our both ears. Okay, the idea is that, okay, when someone calls you, okay, due to difference in distance, okay, your left and your right ear, okay, one ear will hear the sound first and then the other ear will hear the sound a little bit later, just a while later. Okay, so due to the difference in basically difference in time in receiving the sound, your brain will interpret, oh, where is the sound from? Of course, if let's say your right ear hears the sounds first, okay, you will know that the sound source is from somewhere from the right. Okay, if your left ear hears the sounds first, okay, your brain will actually tell you, oh, this is actually from the left. Okay, so that's the idea about it. Stereophonic hearing is basically hearing with both your ears. Okay, so of course, importance for animal, your predator and prey. Basically, predator can determine location of prey and prey can detect location of predator. Basically, when they hear with their both ears. Okay, so moving on to the next part, hearing frequency of animals. Okay, if you want to ask me, teacher, this one have to memorize. Okay, my answer to you is that if your brain capacity a lot, you can try to memorize. If your brain got 2 terabyte, 2 TB, you can try to memorize. Okay, but if your brain 64 gig only, okay, I would recommend that you just read through, just screen through. Why? You need to know. There's a lot of things in science to memorize, like let alone science sejarah, wow, a lot of things to memorize. Okay, all these kind of details, just read through is fine. Honestly, do they often test? I wouldn't say so, but I cannot entirely say like, wow, this one confirm won't test one. Later suddenly come out one question, you ask me, teacher, why they test me? You say won't come out one. It's not a very frequently asked question. But you never know. If your teacher hate you, then she'll put one question. But trust me, this one, there's no one on earth that would particularly know, did the sea lion, ngam ngam, the frequency of hearing is 450 to 50,000. No one would automatically know. This one really comes from memorizing. Okay, if you ask me, did I memorize this? I can tell you very frankly, I don't memorize because I don't need to know sea lion punya hearing frequency. But why you guys need to know? Because exam maybe will test lor. So again, it all goes back to how much you can memorize. Okay, but if you feel like you already have a lot to memorize, you have a lot on your plate already, it's fine. This one just read through. Okay, just screen through is fine. Sensory organ on animals. Okay, put a bit more focus on your snakes and cockchafer. Okay, eel also lah. Okay, so usually snake have Jacobson organ in their palate, okay, where it detects heat and smell to help them hunt for their prey. Okay, and cockchafer is a type of insect. Okay, it will release pheromone to attract a male cockchafer to fertilize them. Okay, and yeah, eel can release electric shock to stun its prey. All right, so now let's try to have a look at some questions, okay, for chapter 1. Okay, I need you to let's have a look into question number 13. Is it 13? Wait, let me see. Yes, question number 13. Okay, page 16 if I'm not wrong. Okay, question 13. Okay, again, let me just tell you, I'm not here and there. Sometimes I might not be doing a full question. Uh, might skip here and there. Some I'll just touch and go because I want to be able to cover. Are we going to go through chapter 3? Unfortunately, I don't think we have enough time for chapter 3. In normal class, I'm wrapping up chapter 3. Okay, so I will leave the revision probably in normal class. Okay, because we only have 1.5 hours. Okay, if I do chapter 1, 2, 3, I think rocket also cannot reach. Like serious one. 2 chapter, I already like rocket already. Okay, I try my best. Chapter 2 also I want to try to cover more questions. Okay, so anyways, let's have a look at question 13, page 16. So guys, just now I mentioned already they love to test this. Okay, whenever they ask for hearing. State 2 structures that are not involved in listening, hearing mechanism. Which 2 parts? Can anyone tell me in the chat box? Alai. Very good, Kiranya. Anyone else? One more. Eustachian tube and one more. Yes, okay, semicircular canal. Okay, separo bulat and also tube eustachian. Very good, Ian. Okay, very good, Hong Lim. Okay, so these 2, okay, they love to test near the snail. Very good. All right, moving on to the next one. So explain how the part of the ear helps James to be successful in his performance. Okay, balancing on rope. Okay, I could never. But anyways, guys, this one is basically which part that helps to balance the body. Which part? Is it the eustachian tube or the semicircular canal? Very good. The semicircular canal. Okay, so over here, I will just write point form. Exam, please don't write point form, okay? But yeah, I want to cover more question. Okay, so semicircular canal. Salor separo bulat. Okay, which part? Salor separo bulat helps the fella. How does it help? The cast of The Greatest Showman. Yeah, I didn't watch the movie though. Same. Okay, anyways, guys, how does it help this James to balance? Okay, the semicircular canal will detect position of what? Yes, kepala detects position of kepala. Okay, mengesan kedudukan kepala and then it will help to mengimbangi badan. Okay, balance the body. Okay, detects position of head and balance the body. Okay, exam, please do not write key points. Okay, do not write point form. Okay, but now because I want to cover more question. Okay, so over here it will mengesan kedudukan kepala. Kepala and then mengimbangi badan. Or you can say untuk membantu keseimbangan badan 就是可以. Okay, also can. Alright. Can. Okay, so next one. Reno likes to study while listening, while wearing earphone with loud music. Okay, so basically explain the effect to Reno's ear. Spotify time. Later then got the ads. Listen to Spotify. Okay, so now what is the effect? Okay, you try to imagine. There's actually 2 possible answers here. Okay, constant loud sounds on your ear, okay, it will actually damage the cochlea. Okay, it may damage cochlea. Okay, it might merosakkan cochlea. Okay, but however, there's also another thing that may be damaged. Eardrum. Eardrum torn off. This one very extreme. How loud is the sound? Okay, of course, if it's super duper loud, okay, like I think the volume at 100 also won't turn off lah. Okay, maybe 500, then it will tear off. Okay, but the idea is that, so is headphones better than earphone? Actually, it's the same lah, more or less. Okay, it's about loud or soft. Okay, over here, yeah, it will actually affect what? The eardrum. Why? You need to know, guys, when you listen to loud sound, means it's stronger vibration. Okay, if you constantly listen to loud music, means your vibration of eardrum is very, 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 very vigorous. Constantly. And what happened? Later, after vibration for a very long time at a very strong frequency, then it will get tired, then it will become longer, it will become loose. So what happened? Your eardrums will become less elastic, eardrum will lose its elasticity. Then what happened? In the future, you want to listen to soft music, you can't hear anything already. Okay, so it will cause your what? Your elasticity of eardrum will decrease. Okay, then it will affect the hearing. Okay, kekenyalan kegendang telinga berkurang. Okay, nah, let me just have a sip of water. Okay, moving on to the next one. They say, Jeremy studies a diagram of human ear labeled JKLM. Okay, so circle one part that is involved in hearing. Not just one, there's actually two here. Can anyone let me know in the chat box which two are the ones, okay, involved in hearing? Okay, tell me the alphabet. Okay, JKLM, which two? Okay, although they asked you to circle one, but now there's two answers, possible answers. So anyone? Very good. The K is what? K is our eardrum. Very good. And L, very good. L is our auditory nerve. Saraf auditory. J and M, no. J is your semicircular canal, salo-separobular, and M is your eustachian tube, which, okay, is not involved in hearing. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Explain the effect if part K is punctured. Guys, eardrum punctured. Can vibrate or not? Got lubang already. Cannot vibrate. Cannot vibrate, can pass the sound on or not? Cannot. Cannot pass the sound on, can hear or not? Cannot. Okay, so now keyword, sound vibration cannot be transferred. Therefore, sound cannot be heard. Getaran bunyi tidak boleh dipindahkan. Okay, and bunyi tidak dapat didengari. Okay, English notes red color, BM notes green color. Okay, so keywords. Okay, these, the ones that are highlight are the keywords. Okay, cannot. All right. Okay. Okay, so now moving on to the next one. Okay, while traveling on a hilly road, okay, Jeremy feels pain in his ear as the car moves upwards. Okay, so usually when you travel up to a higher altitude area, what happens is that your surrounding air pressure, okay, your atmospheric pressure decreases. Genting, you guys feel like pressure difference though, Genting? For me, I don't really experience anything for Genting. But if I take a flight, I do. Or especially when it goes up, it feels really uncomfortable. Okay, but anyways, when you want to overcome the pain. Okay? Overcome the pain. What do you do? Okay, chew gum. Okay, yes. Ear muff usually, ear muff, you just block off. You are not actually balancing the pressure. What can we do? Earbuds, Yes, I see. Key point here. Swallow saliva, yawn. Very good. What can we do? Okay. When you yawn, okay, for me, yawn I find very hard. Okay. Swallowing saliva, yes. Okay, my method, I don't know if anyone uses this method. I usually blow my nose. I blow my nose and then suddenly it will clear up. Okay. But the moment it pop, wow, that one very painful. Blow becomes actually right. My one I blow, okay leh. I blow okay leh. I don't know why. No, blow is when I touch down. I touch down, I blow. Come back down. I mostly get headache. What? Turn off the phone. Turn off the phone and your pain in the ear different. Okay, so swallow, saliva, and yawn. Chew gum also works. Okay, by the way, how does the pain occurs? Okay, when you move upwards, okay, higher altitude area means what? Lower atmospheric pressure. When your outside pressure is different from what you have in your ear inside punya pressure, then it will cause pain. Okay, the inner ear pressure higher than atmospheric pressure. Okay, so tekanan atmosfera berkurangan. Okay, and what happens is that your tekanan telinga, the difference in pressure, actually caused the pain. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Can I? Oh, very hot. I on aircon, the day still very hot. Oh. Okay, so all right. Okay, give you a little bit of time to write. Okay, okay. And let me see. While looking at our progress, I think later on we OT a bit lah. I hope you guys are not hungry. Okay, so let me just see what question is next. Okay, next one, I want to do question 17, 17. Okay, I will be just doing a touch and go question. Okay, I just tell you verbally, okay, and then we will move on to question 19. Okay, I want to do 17 and then 19. Okay, 17 first. 17 touch and go. Okay, all good, everybody? Gao team, okay. Okay, question, what I say already? Question 17, page number 20. Okay, page 20. Okay, if you need more time, always let me know. Otherwise, if you need more time, you can take a screenshot first. Okay, and for those who have done, I'll meet you at page, wait page 20. Okay, page 20. 20. Okay, question 17. Okay, so now let's have a look. Okay, so over here, diagram below shows an illustration of stereophonic hearing. Okay, so guys, what is stereophonic hearing? Basically, stereophonic hearing is when you listen with your both ears. Okay, so basically it's a hearing when you listen with your both ears. Okay, so guys, importance of stereophonic hearing to humans. Okay, when we listen to both ears, how does it benefit us? We are able to determine what? The direction of what? Like how you know whether to look to your left or to the right when someone calls you. It helps you determine the location of sound. Very good. Okay, direction and location of sound accurately. Very good, Maya. Okay, and next one. State importance of stereophonic hearing to predator. Can detect location of prey. Okay, importance of stereophonic hearing to prey. Can detect location of predator and can run away before the further catch the prey. Okay, and here, this one, anyone remember what is the frequency of sound that can be detected by human? This one important. The animal one, don't remember, I give it to you, but human one must know. Anyone remember how many to how many hertz? You have learned it in Form 2 also. What is our human hearing range? Very good, Rayan. Okay, 20 to 20,000. Okay, 20 to 20,000. Okay, if you were to write this, got marks ah? No marks. Why no marks? Sound frequency. Very good. Hertz. Okay, guys, your unit is very, very important. When it comes to science, unit, very, very important. All right, so over here, let's have a look into question. This one got memorized, then got marks. So, but honestly, they rarely ask this kind of stuff. And you ask me to answer this one, I can tell you honestly, I didn't memorize. But this one, it can only be answered if you memorize. Very hard to tembak one. I know this one high frequency lah, but exactly what number really need to memorize. Okay, time to tembak. Okay, so now I want you to look into question 19. Okay, 1-9. Okay, so the diagram below shows a tiger. Okay, so guys, name the type of vision. Guys, tiger, both eyes at the front of the head. Stereoscopic or monocular vision? Anyone? Mana? Which one? Stereoscopic. Very good. Penglihatan stereoscopic. Okay, so second question. Position of the eye. Give you picture already. At the front or at the side? Of course, in front of the head. Okay, both eyes in front of the head. So stereoscopic vision, eyes position is in front of the head. Mm-hmm. All right. So stereoscopic vision, eyeball in front of the head. Monocular vision is at the side of the head. Okay? So draw the visual field of the tiger. Okay, since it's at the front of the head. Okay, what happened? Now, the right side of the eye can see this much. Maybe just a little bit more than a straight line. Okay, then, well, sorry, I'm drawing a bit like shit. Macam can. Something like this lah. Okay, agak-agak, okay. Then after that, you can draw the overlap area lor, like your left eye can see this much, right eye can see this much, okay? So this is the overlap area, okay? So basically overlap area usually can see things in 3D, okay? Which can help them to judge distance accurately. Menganggar jarak dengan tepat, okay? Estimate or judge distance accurately. Okay, and disadvantage of the visual field. What happened? Anything in front can see, behind can see or not? Cannot see means what? Narrow field of vision. Narrow. Okay, bidang penglihatan yang sempit. Okay, so next one. Name 2 animals that have the same type of vision. Don't say human. Okay, human don't want. Okay, animal. What other animals with stereoscopic vision? Eyes in front of the head. Lion, cheetah, yes. Cat, dog, eagle, owl. Okay. Panther. Wow, this one so special one. Usually I write all the very basic one. Okay. Can lah. Okay. Lion, eagle, owl. Okay. Dog, cat. As long as the eyes in front. Okay. Anyways, advantage of the vision. Able to judge distance accurately. Dapat menganggar jarak dengan tepat. Okay. You need to use the word estimate distance accurately. Okay, honestly speaking, it's just a 1-mark question. Just write this will do. Short and sweet. As long as you hit the keyword. Mamma mia. Panda. Wow, panda. Panda in front, huh? Hello. Hi. Why randomly got a hi here one? Hi, Jess. This is Oh, a bit late. 1 hour late. Good morning. Did you just wake up? No. Okay. Never mind, you can watch back the recording. But you're still on time for chapter 2, by the way. All right, so anyways, before we look into chapter 2, I just want to go through um question 20 onwards. I just want to touch and go, okay? I want you to answer me in the chat box, okay, what type of tropism it is. Okay, just a quick one, okay? We just run through and then we shall continue, okay, with chapter 2. All right, all right, all right. Okay, dana, dana. Okay, so guys, the first one, okay, when you look at this experiment, okay, your plant will show what type of tropism. Now, you see got the lubang here. Then the plant will grow towards the lubang. This one, what type of tropism it is? Very good, Kiranya. Okay, this is phototropism. Okay, phototropism. Okay, so now one side question. Which part of the plant shows positive phototropism? Yes, the shoots, okay, wherever with the leaf lah. Okay, BM is called as the pucuk. Or train trip was delayed. Okay, okay. Wow. Damn. All right, all right. Okay, so over here, let's look at the second one. Just touch and go, okay? Now, this one is what? You see, the roots of the plant grow towards direction of water. Water. What tropism? Water. Ah, very good. Okay, this is hydrotropism. Okay, and pretty obvious, the roots is showing positive photo, positive hydrotropism. Why is the seedling so big? You have a point. This Pro Max seedling. Pro Max green bean. Okay. Anyways, let's have a look at the next one. One last one. Okay, guys. This one is what tropism. Okay, basically it will cling onto other objects. Yes, thigmotropism. And guys, which part of the plant shows positive thigmotropism? The curly part. Very good. These are called as the very good, Ayushi. What about the rest? Remember not? The curly part. What is it called? Hangman. Remember not? Tendrils or twining stems. Very good. Sulo powered. Very good. Okay, tendrils or twining stems. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much what I want to cover for chapter 1. Okay, we are very behind time. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Let's continue. All right. Now let's look into chapter 2. Same thing, okay. Uh, although we are a bit behind time, I still want to do the recap, okay, because I think recap is very, very important, okay, to refresh your memory, okay. It's like you know the knowledge, but sometimes it's just like at the back of the brain, okay. You need someone to call it back out, okay, you know. So, anyways, now I need you to take your notes out again, okay. We shall look into your chapter 2, okay. So over here, let's have a look. So chapter 2, of course, is about our respiratory system. Okay, not just for humans, we're learning about animals and also plants as well. Okay, as for the parts here, all the ding dong, all these parts, I'm not going through in detail anymore. Okay, but what I will go through, okay, is that usually when you breathe in, when you inhale, okay, where does your air goes through? Okay, like where does it pass by? Okay, so over here, your breathing mechanism. First of all, when you breathe in through your nose, okay, your nostrils. So air will pass by the lubang hidung, okay, and enter your nasal cavity, rongga hidung. Okay, then after that, it will enter basically the so-called throat, okay, your pharynx. Okay, BM is also called pharynx, and then to larynx. Okay, it will pass by larynx. Okay, after larynx, it goes through the trachea. Okay, aka the windpipe. Okay, so this is trachea here. Okay, after the trachea, it will go to the bronchus. Okay, bronchus is the part where it splits to the left and the right side of the lung. Bronchus. Okay, and after that, it goes to the bronchial, the one that looks like 3 branches. Those are called as bronchial. Okay, so basically air will pass through the bronchial and eventually it will go to your alveolus. All right. BM is also called alveolus. By the way, English notes people, sometimes you see the word alveoli. Okay, alveoli, alveolus is the same thing. Alveolus singular, alveoli is plural now. Many alveolus is alveoli. Okay, so anyways, apart from all these parts, okay, left lung, right lung, that one don't need to know, okay. But one thing that is not, your air does not pass through that part, but it's very, very, very important in your breathing mechanism. Okay, your diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm is the main part that helps to control air in and out of your lungs. Okay, so over here, just now I already gone through your the flow already, and this one I just roughly tell you lah, huh? Okay, so usually when we eat, okay, when we swallow food, why does the food not enter our trachea? It's because of the presence of epiglottis. Okay, when you swallow food, epiglottis falls down to block the trachea so that food doesn't enter the trachea. Okay, and next we are going to look into inhalation and exhalation. Okay, you're gonna be like, wow, this one have to learn meh? Okay, every day I breathe, I don't know meh? Of course, every day you breathe, you know how to breathe. But trust me when I say inhalation and exhalation, it looks like so simple, and a lot of students tend to not study this part, okay, tend to not revise. It's because you will feel like it's logic. Yes, it is logic, but when it comes to inhalation and exhalation, they emphasize strongly on keywords, okay, which I am going to go through. What are the keywords that you must write when they ask you to explain inhale and exhalation? Okay, so guys, during inhalation, okay, every time when they ask you what happens during inhale or exhalation, okay, keywords, okay, two things will happen. Number one, what will happen to your rib cage? Sangga rusuk. Number two, what will happen to your diaphragm? Let's talk about rib cage first. Okay, in an exam, let's say you don't remember what happens to your rib cage. You can just breathe in. Okay, you will feel that your rib cage is expanding. But can you write expanding? Answer is no. You must use keyword. Rib cage move upwards and outwards. Must use. Okay, I have seen exam paper, student wrote expand. Technically, it's not entirely wrong, you get what I mean? But they really, really emphasize on keyword. So, sangka rusuk bergerak ke atas dan keluar. Okay? So, that is what happens to rib cage. And second one, what happens to your diaphragm? Okay? So, just for your information, your diaphragm, okay, when it's not doing anything, when it's just chilling there, okay, when you're not breathing in, it should be curved by right. Okay, it should be curved. Okay, but when you inhale, okay, what happens is that your diaphragm, okay, it will contract and flatten. Keyword, contracts and flatten. Mengecut dan melepeh. Okay, bergerak ke bawah can, you want to say melepeh also can, flatten. Okay, so combining both of this, imagine now your rib cage, okay, expand outwards, move upwards and outwards, and then your diaphragm contract and flatten. Okay, what happens? You try to see when it expands, you're technically making more space in your thoracic cavity, your rhonga thorax. Means the volume inside will increase. Okay, so what happens when the volume of thoracic cavity increase? Okay, the air pressure changes. What happens? Always remember, volume and pressure always terbalik relationship. When volume increases, the pressure inside decreases. So imagine now, inside your thoracic cavity, pressure low. Outside, pressure high. So how does it move? How come I raise my hand already? Okay. Anyways, what happens is that high pressure will push air to low pressure region, which means the air from outside will be pushed inwards. Okay, push inwards to your lungs. Therefore, air flows into your lungs. So always remember, when you're able to breathe in, when you're able to inhale, it's not because your nose very strong, your lungs very strong. Okay, your nose got 6 packs, also no use one, okay? If your diaphragm gone case means you cannot breathe one. Okay, you need both of these to alter the volume and pressure inside in order to let air go in. If in and out pressure same RIP, correct. Okay, so that is the keyword. All right, when you exhale, what is the keyword? Okay, so when you exhale, of course, in exam, you can try to exhale on your okay, what happens to your rib cage? Okay, rib cage will fall back downwards. Okay, rib cage move downwards and inwards. Okay, sangka rusuk bergerak ke bawah dan ke dalam. Okay, and the next one, what happens to your diaphragm? Okay, just now when you breathe in, diaphragm contract and relax. Okay, contract and flatten. Okay, and when you breathe out, exhale, your diaphragm will relax and curve upwards. Okay, diaphragm relax and curve upwards. Mengendur dan melengkung. Keyword. Okay, so you try to imagine now as you breathe out, okay, your rib cage falls back down, diaphragm relax means what? The space inside becomes smaller. Volume decrease, pressure increase. Remember, volume and pressure always terbalik relationship. So imagine now, what happens? Now, here inside pressure high compared to where? Compared to outside pressure low. So higher pressure region push air to lower pressure region. Air will be forced out of the lungs. Okay, so these are the keywords. Always talk about the rib cage, always talk about the diaphragm. Sangka, rusuk, dan diaphragma. Okay, and the next one, this model here is to represent your breathing, your entire respiratory system. Okay, your four main parts that you need to know. Okay, over here, the middle part here, this represents the trachea. Okay, the Y shape here represents the bronchus. Okay, and the two balloon here represents our lungs, okay? And the plastic sheet at the bottom is actually our diaphragm. Okay, always remember when you pull it down means it's inhale punya action. When you push it back up, it's exhale punya action. Okay, and now let's have a look into the next part. Okay, so two experiment here. Let me just quickly run through with you guys. Okay, so what are these two experiment about? The first experiment on top is to show you that inhaled air has more oxygen than exhaled air. Okay, so what happens, okay, to this? Okay, sorry, let me just remove the Mandarin characters. Okay, so in this experiment, what you do is that you basically collect inhaled air. Inhaled air is just your surrounding air. Okay, and then what happens is that you will cover this gas jar over the candle. Okay, and by now you guys should know, whenever you have fire burning, okay, combustion requires oxygen. So when you cover like that, okay, means what? As the candle burns, okay, it will use up the oxygen in the gas jar. So eventually, as it slowly uses up the oxygen inside becomes lesser. And up to a point, what happens when it runs out of oxygen inside? What happened to the candle? The candle will extinguish. Okay, the fire, bye-bye. Okay, so that is the first thing you will notice. And number two, you will notice that the water level rises up. Okay, to 1/5 of the gas jar. Why 1/5? Because oxygen takes up 1/5 of the air, which is almost equivalent to 20%. Okay, so basically, when you repeat the experiment with exhaled air, okay, you will notice that the increase in water level will be less than 1/5. Why? Because exhaled air has lesser oxygen. Okay, so that's the idea about the experiment. Okay, can ah. So the one with exhaled air probably increase like less than 1/5 of the gas jar. Okay, and the next experiment also very, very easy. Okay, which is what? Okay, it basically talks about your concentration of carbon dioxide in inhaled and exhaled air. Once again, I believe this is logic lah, logic, common sense. Okay, guys. Of course, in our exhaled air, there is more carbon dioxide compared to inhaled air, isn't it? All right, so over here, can you see now, okay, what they do is that they will pass the air through lime water. Okay, let's just have a look at the diagram. On your left is basically air breathed out. So exhaled air pass through the left side, inhaled air pass through the right side. Okay, so over here, what happens is that now, obviously, we know that exhaled air has more carbon dioxide. So if it has more carbon dioxide, what happens to the lime water? What happens when lime water meets carbon dioxide? It will turn cloudy. Okay, since your exhaled air has much more carbon dioxide, it will turn, you want to say cloudy or very cloudy is fine. Okay, it will menjadi sangat keruh. Okay, and what about your udara sedutan? Okay, your inhaled air. Inhaled air, what can the lime water be replaced with? Wow. Usually, wow. Your activity book so atas one. This is out of syllabus actually. Okay. Okay, what can we replace lime water with in CO2 test? Let me see. Wow. This one a bit tricky. This one is not, it's way out of syllabus. They say it's barium hydroxide. Usually unlikely leh. You sure it's this question? You want to take photo to? Yeah, chemistry also they use lime water only. Chemistry. Form 4, Form 5, they use lime water only. Okay. So over here, always remember when lime water meets carbon dioxide, it turns cloudy. The more cloudy it gets means the air has more carbon dioxide. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Okay. This is one of the vinegar to replace lime water. It's not about the acidity though. It's about the chemical and the reaction. Okay, so over here, what will they ask? Will they ask, yes, what is the lime water for? Is to detect presence of carbon dioxide. Untuk mengesan kehadiran carbon dioxide. They will ask, what is the lime water for? To detect presence of carbon dioxide. Okay, so over here, let's look into the next one. Okay, this I would say is one of the more important parts in this chapter. Okay, and we only have 7 minutes left. Okay, I believe I would drag on a little longer lah, maybe extra 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so anyways, over here, guys, this is what happens in our alveolus. Okay, before we talk about what happens inside, okay, I just want to highlight to you a very, very, very important process, okay, that they love to ask in chapter 2 and chapter 3. They love to ask. When I say love, it's really love to ask. Okay, so guys, you must know the process called diffusion. Okay, BM called peresapan. Okay, what is diffusion? Diffusion is a process of movement of gases from high concentration to low concentration region. Okay, from kepekatan tinggi ke kepekatan rendah. Must remember. Okay, so over here, let me explain to you what happens in our alveolus. Okay, by the way, this round thing here, this is our alveolus. Okay, remember just now when we breathe in, okay, your air eventually ends up at alveolus. But it doesn't just stop there. Okay, what happens after alveolus? Okay, of course, when we breathe in, what do we bring in, guys? Okay, when we breathe in, we are bringing in oxygen. Okay, majority oxygen. Okay, so now what happens to the oxygen in your alveolus? Okay, it will undergo diffusion. It will diffuse. Diffuses where? Diffuses into our blood capillaries. Okay, it diffuses into our blood capillaries. Wow, I just saw your picture, Rayun. Wow, this one barium hydroxide. Really, this is the first time I see this question. Usually exam won't ask. Serious one. First time I see this question. Usually in Form 4, Form 5 chemistry also they don't ask. But okay lah, at least now you know. But exam won't ask one. Okay. Anyways, over here, okay, when you breathe in oxygen, okay, oxygen will diffuse into your blood capillaries. And what do you have in your blood capillaries, guys? Okay, you will have your red blood cell. Okay, red blood cell is not the main character here. Okay, who is the main character? The thing inside the red blood cell. Okay, so your red blood cell contains what? It contains this thing called as hemoglobin. Okay, so guys, hemoglobin, remember previously in my normal class, I described hemoglobin as what? Hemoglobin is like a Grab driver. Okay, it helps to send oxygen to the desired destination, which is your body cells. Okay, so what happens is that now oxygen, it will diffuse into your blood capillaries, and it will combine with hemoglobin. So oxygen bind with hemoglobin, it forms oxyhemoglobin. In other words, your hemoglobin is carrying oxygen now. And what happens next? It will flow, 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 flow. Okay, your blood will carry the uh oxyhemoglobin, okay, to where? To your body cells. Okay, and what happens at your body cells? Okay, so now at your body cells, of course, in your blood capillaries, okay, high concentration of oxygen. Okay, in your body cells, low concentration of oxygen. Okay, and what happens next? Okay, the oxygen will break down and it will diffuse into the body cells. Okay, so oxygen will enter the body cells for what? To carry out cellular respiration. Guys, why does our body cells carry out cellular respiration? Is to produce what for us? Cellular respiration. Anyone remember? Remember? What is cellular respiration for? To produce, yes, energy for us. Okay, so over here, oxygen in, who will come back out? After cellular respiration, it produces, very good, carbon dioxide. So now carbon dioxide will diffuse from the body cells into your bloodstream. Okay, and your blood will carry your carbon dioxide and flow, 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 flow back to the lungs there. Okay, it reaches your alveolus and it will diffuse into your alveolus, and then eventually your carbon dioxide will be exhaled out. Okay, in short, okay, basically your hemoglobin is like a Grab driver. It helps to bring oxygen to the desired destination, which is the body cells, and it carries carbon dioxide back to the alveolus so that it will be exhaled. Okay, so the details here, okay, you guys can really read through, okay? I want you to remember the concept, okay? So all this, basically the movement of gases is called your diffusion, okay? Diffusion. All right, and moving on to the next one, substances that are harmful to our human respiratory system. Of course, cigarette smoke, okay, carbon monoxide, things like that. Okay, but for cigarette, okay, there's of course a lot of harmful substance inside. The two things that I usually love to memorize, I recommend you to memorize will be what? Our cigarette tar and also nicotine. They'll ask you, how does it harm our respiratory system? Always remember tar. How does tar harm our respiratory system? It will cause the lung to become what color? What color? It will? Yes, it will blacken the lung. Very good. It will menghitamkan paru-paru. Tar punya effect. And then you see, wow, so many things. This one easy. Nicotine. Guys, nicotine is also very harmful. What does it cause? Long term on nicotine, it will cause, yes, addiction. Okay, causes addiction. Menyebabkan ketagihan. These two, tar, blacken the lung, nicotine causes addiction. Okay, and yes, cannot stop. Okay, so is it a drug? No, it's actually a type of chemical that causes addiction. Okay, anyways, carbon monoxide is also equally as dangerous for us, especially when it forms carboxyhemoglobin. Okay, because it's a stable compound and it will cause oxygen in blood to decrease. Okay, remember previously in normal class I mentioned before, okay, if you turn on your engine, okay, and then you sleep inside, what happened? You inhale too much carbon monoxide, high chance bye-bye, okay. Anyways, the rest you guys can read through yourself, okay, all the other stuff. Okay, and over here, now for respiratory disease, I'll just screen through really, really fast. Okay, for respiratory disease, first one is asthma. Second one is bronchitis. Bronchitis is basically when your bronchus is inflamed. Okay, emphysema is when your alveolus scoria already damaged alveolus. Okay, usually caused by cigarette. And finally, cancer. Lung cancer is caused by carcinogen. Okay, so over here, moving on to the next one. Now, this experiment, okay, is about what? Okay, I would say this experiment is a very straightforward experiment lah. Okay, and sometimes they ask you to draw. They'll give you like a cotton wool, give you a plastic bottle, and then give you cigarette, plasticine, and ask you to draw the experiment out, the simple version. Okay, always remember your cotton wool confirm inside the plastic bottle one. Okay, and over here you will actually notice three, okay, effects. Okay, three effects of harmful effects of smoking on the lungs, okay, human lungs. Okay, so number one, what do you notice? You will notice that your cotton wool, it will turn yellowish brown. Okay, it's just one cigarette, guys. It will not turn the lungs black immediately, like one cigarette, wow, hitam already. No. Okay, usually it's over time the tar deposit cause it to become black. One single cigarette, yellowish brown. Of course, if you were to say yellowish black, okay lah, don't terus write black. Okay, so over here, what is the harmful effect on lungs? Okay, it contains tar and it will blacken the lung. Number two, what happens is that you will have litmus solution here. Okay, so over here, what happens to the litmus solution? Litmus solution, okay, will show you that, okay, litmus solution will show you that the cigarette smoke is acidic. So when the cigarette smoke is acidic, okay, it will corrode the lung tissue, menghakiskan sel paru-paru. Okay, and the third one is what? You by right they should put a thermometer here. Okay, so you will notice that the thermometer shows an increase in temperature. And what does that show? Okay, that actually shows that the smoke is hot. And how does hot smoke affect our respiratory system? Okay, it mengandungi haba, so it will cause our gas exchange to be less efficient. Okay, our pertukaran gas kurang berkesan. Okay, so three harmful effects. Okay, and moving on to the next one. Okay, respiratory system. Okay, not even rehab can save. Yeah, it's not about that. Stopping cigarette is easier than stopping drugs, I would say. It's whether or not they want to stop or not. Okay. Anyways, it's about willpower, I would say. Anyways, over here, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, for your animals, mainly we're gonna learn about three types of your respiratory system. First one is moist outer skin. Okay, so which type of animal breathe with the moist skin? Okay, usually amphibians, aka our frogs. Okay, frogs uses two things to breathe. First one is the lungs, second one is moist outer skin. How to know when is using lungs? Okay, usually, okay, they will use lungs when they are on land. Okay, but when they're in water, they use moist outer skin to breathe. Okay, and who uses gills to breathe? Of course, the fish. Okay, fish uses gills. All right, and the third one is trachea. Okay, tracheal system. Okay, usually insects uses tracheal systems to breathe. Okay, basically air, oxygen, and carbon dioxide will enter and come out through the lubang called as spiracles. Okay, so over here, the adaptation of respiratory system. Okay, basically this one can read through a bit lah ha. Okay, basically at different altitude, okay, sometimes your breathing, your heart rate will increase, mainly to increase your rate of breathing, things like that. Okay, but one thing that I would specifically like to highlight is this one. Okay, chapter 2, they may ask this question. Chapter 3, they can also ask this question. Okay, when you carry out vigorous activity, okay, basically when you exercise lah. Okay, so what happens is that we know that our breathing rate increases. Okay, our heart rate also increases. If they ask you chapter 2 question, they'll ask you what happens to your breathing rate. Of course, you breathe faster, breathing rate increase. Okay, but when it comes to chapter 3, they're going to ask very similar question. Chapter 3 is about your heart ma. And remember, when you carry out vigorous activity, your heart rate increases. Okay, why is it so? You try to think, guys, when you carry out, basically when you go for exercise, vigorous activity, do you need more or you need less energy? More or less energy needed? Of course, vigorous activity, you need more energy. Okay, and guys, how do we produce energy? Through what process? Cellular respiration. Yes, very good. Okay, so cellular respiration. Okay, so the idea is that cellular respiration, we need two things. We need glucose, we need oxygen. Okay, so how do we get glucose and oxygen to reach your cells faster. Number one, you breathe in, basically when you breathe faster, your breathing rate increase, you will get in more oxygen. Number two, when your heart rate increases, it will pump faster and your blood flow faster, your blood reaches the cells faster as well. So you will be able to get more energy as cellular respiration increases. This one, very important. Put a star here. Okay, exam, they love to test this. Okay, and for disease, okay, anemia, remember, okay, basically when a person is low in red blood cells, it's called as anemia. Okay, what is sickle cell disease? Sickle cell disease is when the person's red blood cell is cacat, okay, sickle shape, okay, like a crescent shape. This is people with sickle cell disease. Also, it will affect the transport of oxygen because lesser hemoglobin on the surface, so less oxygen transported. Okay, and one final part for your plants part, honestly, plants part, nothing too much to talk about. Okay, so for your plants, okay, long story short, is everything diffusion. Okay, basically your plants will carry out the gaseous exchange through the stoma. Okay, pertukaran gas melalui where? Stoma. So basically what happens is that, okay, it basically the flow of carbon dioxide and oxygen is all depending on diffusion, always from high to low concentration. So over here is what? Okay, your carbon dioxide, it will diffuse from the surrounding into the airspace, ruang udara first, and then further diffuse into the palisade mesophyll cell. Okay, why does your palisade mesophyll cell require carbon dioxide? It's because it wants to carry out photosynthesis. Okay, and after photosynthesis, the product produced will be oxygen. So oxygen will diffuse from the palisade mesophyll cell to the airspace, ruang udara, and then out to the environment. It's all diffusion. Okay, whole page summarized in one word, diffusion. Okay, and next one is basically osmosis. Okay, so as we know that your stoma, yes, sometimes it opens, sometimes it closes. Who controls the opening and closing of stoma? Anyone remember? That two piece over there is called what? Yes, very good, Ian. Very good, Ayushi. Very good. Okay, gut cells. Okay, so now why does gut cells open? Why does gut cell closes? It's because of osmosis. Okay, what is osmosis? Okay, osmosis is basically your movement of water, okay, from a more diluted area to a more concentrated area. Okay, just look at this diagram. Just assume this diagram. Okay, this one is water, and imagine this is Milo. Okay, Milo, like literally the Milo that you drink. And this one is water and a lot of Milo powder inside. Okay, so how does osmosis work? It will always go from the diluted Milo to the concentrated Milo area. And then this is osmosis. Okay, that's the idea about it. Of course, you just need to understand the concept. Okay, it's basically going from the more diluted area to the concentrated area. Why does this happen? And how do you apply this to gut cell? Okay, so guys, as we all know, usually during daytime, okay, plants carry out photosynthesis. Yes, it carries out photosynthesis. And when it carries out photosynthesis, what exactly happens? Okay, your gut cell also carry out photosynthesis, so it will produce its own food. Okay, so there will be a lot of glucose molecule inside. So when there's a lot of glucose molecule, isn't it something like this? Okay, isn't it something like this? A lot of glucose molecules. And what happened? The water from the other end will enter. Same goes to your gut cell. When there's a lot of glucose inside, water from outside will diffuse into gut cell. So as water diffuse into gut cell, your gut cell will become turgid and curved. Therefore, it opens. Likewise, during nighttime. Nighttime got photosynthesis or not? No sunlight, no photosynthesis. No photosynthesis means what? No food inside. No food inside. The water be like, chill, no food inside. Never mind, we go back out. Then it will water diffuse back out through osmosis and it will become flaccid and straight. Stoma closes. Okay, and the very last part over here is basically talking about what? How your polluted environment will actually affect the survival of plants. Like what haze, dust, all this will also affect survival of plants. All right, so now let's have a look at some questions. I know time is up. Okay, but I would like to do a little bit questions before we end the class. Okay, okay. Just give me a short while. Let me see what page is this. Okay, quick 2 questions, okay? Just 2 questions. Okay, okay. Wait, I can't jump. Why cannot scroll now? Okay, I want to look into question number. What question is this? This is question number 9. Okay, question number 9. Okay. Chapter 2. Page, I think 33. I think. I don't know if I got it right. Sometimes my one different. You guys help me see, huh? 33. Okay. So page 33, All right, so over here, let's have a look now. Now, name the parts of human respiratory system represented by the above letters. Okay, so if you know the answer, feel free to type in the chat box. Okay, so guys, what is P? P is the so-called windpipe. Okay, the windpipe. Okay, represents what? E-O-E-O. P is trachea. Very good. P is trachea. Okay. And then Q is what? Q is the part where it splits to the left and the right side. Q. There. Your lungs are there. Bronchus. Very good. Okay, you know bronchial. Bronchial is the one that looks like a branch one. Okay, bronchus. Okay, the main one is bronchus. Splits to the left and the right side of the lung. Okay, R is what? Now R confirm no. This one 3 marks. That 2 bg is what? Lungs. Very good. Paparu. And the last one, S is what? The one that moves up and down, up and down, up and down. That one is your diaphragm. Very good. Eh. Ta-da! Eh. Yeah, let me drink water first. I feel like I'm feeling out of breath already. So what is the breathing process when the rubber sheet pulled downwards? Okay, if diaphragm contract and flatten. You try to think. Even if you don't remember, you can look at the diagram, guys. You see the balloon is inflated. Inflated, kembang. Breathe in or breathe out. Inhalation or exhalation. Diaphragm contract and flatten. Inhalation. You see air come in, that's why the balloon inflate. Okay. So next one. Last 29 people standing. Just now got 42 and now 12 bye-bye already. Okay, so explain how the process mentioned in B takes place in humans. So guys, yes, true, okay, but over here, they want to look for very, very specific keyword, okay, human. So when they say human, you don't talk about the rubber sheet or what already. So over here, guys, keyword, what happens to the rib cage when you inhale? Anyone remember the keyword? When you inhale, the rib cage move what? Yes. Outwards and inwards. No. Inhale first. Inhale. Your rib cage move upwards and outwards. Yes, ke atas dan keluar. Cannot write expand. Okay, the moment you write expand, they tak boleh. Okay, upwards and outwards. Keyword. Okay, and what happens to the diaphragm? Guys, breathe in. Diaphragm will, what's the keyword? Contract and don't relax. Flat. Very good. Contract and flatten. Okay, keyword. So always remember, your diaphragm contracts and flatten. And what happens next? Okay, you try to imagine. When you pull down, okay, contract and flatten, and then your rib cage move upwards and outwards. Means what happened to your volume inside the thoracic cavity? Volume increase, and what happens to pressure? Volume increase, pressure decreases. Very good. So inside pressure low, outside pressure high. High pressure force air into low pressure. Air outside goes into the lungs. Okay. So over here, I show you point form. Okay. I don't know if I can. Okay. So keyword. Okay. Again, exam, please don't write point form. Okay, but now I show you so that you can see easily. Okay, what happens to your rib cage? Move upwards and outwards. Diaphragm contract and flatten. Mengendor dan melepeh. Mengecut. Not mengendor. Mengecut lah. Mengecut. Contract. Mengecut dan melepeh. Okay. And over here, what happens to your volume? Okay, of course, exam don't write arrow like that. Volume of thoracic cavity increases, causing the pressure inside to decrease. Okay, the higher pressure outside pushes the air into the lungs. Okay, this is short points only lah. Okay, so next one. What is the breathing process occurred when the rubber sheet is pushed upwards, guys? If the rubber sheet pushed upwards, inhale or exhale? You see, push upwards, the balloon kemek already. Balloon kemek is very good, Ayushi. Exhalation. Hembus nafas. Okay, and the next one, okay, a thin rubber sheet is used in the model instead of thick rubber sheet. Okay, one thing about thin rubber sheet is that it is actually more elastic. Okay, lebih kenyal. Your computer won't overheat. You see, I stand by already. I got fan. Ooh, I got fan. Blowing since 10 a.m. Okay, so more elastic. Okay. Lebih kenyal. Elastic means kenyal in BM. Okay. Now, and let's try to complete the flow chart. Wow, Ayushi, MVP here. Okay, nostril already. Okay, it will go to nasal cavity and then to the pharynx. Okay, BM also called pharynx, just different spelling. Okay, and then it moves to the larynx. Okay, BM also larynx. Yes, very good, Rayan. After larynx, here comes the trachea. Okay. Okay, trachea is the middle part. Okay, this one is trachea. Okay, then after that, the part where it splits to the left and right side of the lung. Yes, bronchus and then bronchiole. Not bad, not bad. Already memorized. Bronchus, bronchiole. Always remember bronchiole is the one like 3 branches, like all the tiny, tiny branches. Okay, bronchus and bronchiole. Sorry, my handwriting a bit ugly already. Okay. And next one, they say structure X prevents food from entering the trachea while eating. Okay, so guys, what is your structure X? Anyone remember? Nah, the one that, yes, very good, epiglottis. Okay. And explain, okay, how does epiglottis work when a person is breathing? Okay, guys, imagine when you're breathing. Does your epiglottis hold up there or it will close? Breathing, no makan, breathing. Open the trachea. Okay, so during breathing, epiglottis moves up and causing trachea to open. Okay, the pathway to trachea. Epiglottis bergerak ke atas and trachea terbuka. Okay? Now, I let you guys vote, huh? Now, I plan to do one more question. Yes or no? Or I do lah, okay? For those who tired already, then no need lor. I do one more, one more, okay? One more. Legit, one last one. Cause I feel like later do not enough question. No. One more lah, one more. Simple one more lah. Okay lah. Yes, no choice. Okay, I know you guys hungry already, cause I also hungry already. I can feel my stomach. Glug, 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 glug. Okay. Last. I ate already. Wow, so nice. One last one. Last one. Last. You know, seminar admin text me, say, don't teach already. I need adjust the setting. No, I need do one more question. Okay, last one. Okay, legit. Question 12. I know there's I'm looking at this question 12. I don't know if your one got cha or not, but my one got two question 12. Okay, but you guys try to look for this question 12. It's page 36. 37, sorry. Page 37. Last one. Last one. Okay, last question for today. Okay, so guys, so guys, over here, state what is T. T is what cell? What cell? In your bloodstream. Yes, very good, Yingjian. Cell darah merah. Red blood cell. Be more specific. Red blood cell. Okay, guess P and Q. Guys, P is what? Okay, let's look at Q first. Q is what? When you breathe in. Guys, breathe in. Now, what type of gas? Breathe in. Yes, Q, oxygen. P, carbon dioxide. 3 marks, okay? Now, last, a bit one. A bit only, okay? Now, so this experiment, okay, you have A and B. So when we look at the left side, A is what? Basically air taken in. Means whatever that passes through A here is inhaled air. Okay? And for B, you see, it is air taken out. Means what? Exhaled air. Okay, guys, logically speaking, okay, this experiment, okay, A versus B, which one will have more carbon dioxide passing through it? A or B? B, very good. Okay, this part here has more carbon dioxide. Left side, less carbon dioxide. Okay, so now they say, what is the function of lime water? Detect, yes, very good. Detect presence of carbon dioxide untuk mengesan kehadiran carbon dioxide. Okay? Can. Nah, last a bit more ni, okay? So, complete the table below to show observations for the experiment. Not clear, okay? Not entirely clear, okay? Because why? Inhaled air also has a very, very little carbon dioxide, which it will turn what? A little bit cloudy, slightly cloudy. Okay, sedikit keruh. And exhaled air, very cloudy. You want to say cloudy or what I write sangat cloudy? My brain is not braining already, guys. I want to write very cloudy, sangat cloudy. Funny. Okay, my brain not braining. Last day, okay. Sangat keruh. Okay. Next one. Factor that is changing. Guys, what is factor that is changing? Okay, your manipulated variable. Okay, pemboleh ubah. Okay, pemboleh ubah yang dimanipulasikan. MV. Guys, always remember, if you ever see a table, left side confirm MV, right side confirm RV. So left side, just copy. Title, masuk. Jeng. Responding variable, jeng. Masuk. Okay. Last two. All right. So, state an inference on the condition of lime water after exhaled air passes through it. Okay. So basically, they're asking what happens, okay? Like basically, yes, it turns cloudy, but why does it turn cloudy? It's because there's carbon dioxide, okay? So you can say it turns cloudy because, okay, it has high concentration of carbon dioxide, okay? Or you can say carbon dioxide, it reacts with the lime water. Therefore, it actually shows that it turns cloudy. Okay. So because the carbon dioxide reacts with the lime water. The udara yang dihembus, sorry, carbon dioxide, okay, bertindak balas dengan air kapur. And actually the last question. Okay, so during a fire, when the room is filled with smoke, okay, survivors are asked to crawl out. Why? It's because when you try to think of it, during a fire, okay, all the smoke will usually be on top. Okay, then you crawl at the bottom to survive. Okay, so you don't inhale as much of the smoke particles. Okay, mainly is because usually those smoke are less dense. Okay, and you can say the smoke and toxic gases will rise up and the air nearest to the floor, okay, is actually cleanest. So you can avoid, I mean like prevent inhaling all these kind of nasty smokes and all the toxic gases. Okay. So that's actually all for the seminar. Okay, thank you for joining back after they cut off the meeting. Okay, I probably combine the video lah. Okay, so let me just stop the recording.